Okay, so Black Myth Wukong is a lot of fun. And before we begin the video, I'm going to try my hardest to avoid story spoilers. So the cutscenes you're going to see are going to be from the boss fights, but not after the chapter ends. I am going to show a lot of the first two levels, and it's going to include a bunch of different bosses and some secrets. So with that being said, let's take a look at how the journey for Black Myth Wukong is going so far. And if you're playing Black Myth Wukong right now, leave a comment below about your thoughts on the game. I'm going to kick this video off with the boss fight near the Front Hill Shrine. This is where you're going to acquire your first spell, and it's probably my favorite in the game. There's just something about freezing an opponent mid-attack that just feels great. How did I miss that? Eventually, I'm going to get the dodges down. Alright, I deserve that. I deserve that. Really wish I could trade in that moment, but that's okay. What in the jank? No stun or knockback right there? I mean, that would have been nice, right? That's kind of weird. But that knocks it out. Alright, whatever. Alrighty, what's next? That's an easy win. Look, I won't lie. It took a while for me to get into rhythm in combat because I felt like a lot of the enemies you encounter early went down really quickly, so it was difficult to practice some of the skills and abilities you learn. With that boss down, the Forest of Wolves was the next location. I noticed that these areas, while linear, have a number of different paths to explore. In this area, you're given the opportunity to scout. I didn't do that because I don't mind fighting. Was this dumb? Yes. Do I regret it? Kinda, because I actually skipped an area that would have granted me a new ability, so I feel real dumb for moving past it. Instead, I did a bit of exploring and then decided to take on the area boss, which did not go well on the first try. Bold prediction, this is going to be a first try. It's going to be a first try. Oh, that damage is going to be troubling. What the fuck was that? I love this new stance, I'm not gonna lie, that was awesome. This game really needs to give me like a stinger type ability so I can just immediately dash and close that distance because running is not what I want to do here. Oh no, this is bad, isn't it? This is really bad. Oh my god. Note to self, don't panic roll. It also didn't go well the second time either, so for my third try, I just ran past him and headed toward the next area. Once I arrived at the temple, I learned that you could craft armor, and this would be really helpful in my final confrontation with him. I mean, having that new stance also helped because I was doing really big damage. And after he was defeated, I could have done the smart thing and further canvassed the forest for secrets, but instead I went and immediately fought the boss at the temple. And can you blame me? The dialogue when you arrive at the temple makes it seem like you're in store for an epic showdown. And you were. That there is a monster straight out of Monster Hunter. Holy shit, we're just getting right into it. All right. Is this arrogant little bastard licking his paws? You swiped at me once. It's kind of weird that bosses in this game give you so many openings like this. Holy shit, that was fast. For a combo, that didn't do that much damage, if we're being honest here. Immobilizing the enemy is the play. It is fantastic. That was amazing. I love this stance. What am I playing here? Elden Ring? Why are you delaying your attacks like this? I have no clue what that does. Is that a buff? That'll teach you to lick your paws in the middle of a fight, you asshole. How were you delaying an attack in midair? Ooh! And that's how we do it. That is how we do it. I think that fight's a lot of fun. It looked more daunting than it was, and I feel like the more patient I am with openings in this game, the easier some bosses are going to be. Now, I have to be honest when I say that I think that being able to immobilize enemies for a period of time does make these encounters more manageable. I really like the fact that each of the spells have their own skill trees, and this can really increase the effectiveness of those spells. So, in terms of difficulty, your playstyle is more than likely going to dictate how hard the game is going to be. Which is good news, because if you're a psychopath who just wants to brawl and throw hands, do so. I expect there are going to be many boss rush speedruns with just people beating the crap out of these bosses with no spells or anything else. It's going to be very entertaining. Now, this next area was interesting because this is where I was able to finally absorb bosses and gain their abilities. So now, Wukong is Neo. I feel like that last hit should stun the boss just a bit. Big whiff. That was not good. How did he not poison me there? That's crazy. Get these fucking snakes out of here, man. Let me get a knockdown at least if it's fully powered. Come on now. I am very close to throwing this. Imagine if we traded blows and his attack killed me. I would be so, I would uninstall this game. So Guando actually became my go-to in terms of summons. I think it's primarily because poison damage is really effective in this game. And on some fights that are really difficult, the snake shots don't aggro the boss, so they won't even pay attention to them. And so that damage buildup in conjunction with you immobilizing an enemy and then doing damage, you can absolutely just crush them. It's crazy. Now, what I learned was that in this area, there is a bell in the back. And then I found out that there were 3 bells spread across this whole level that needed to be rang. And I found 2 of them near boss rooms. The last one is located in the Forest of the Wolves, and that's that place that I've talked about where I've skipped it. And that's primarily because I'm dumb. Regardless, we press forward and we save one of our monkey brethren who just so happens to be an alcoholic, because that's how things work, and I've seen that a lot in Chinese mythology. And this is actually the only way you can upgrade your gourds, and that's probably a system I'm not a big fan of because you actually have to physically go to areas to upgrade. But here's a tip. Make sure you are really thorough when you explore. You never know when you're going to come across resources that will help you throughout the game, especially when it comes to different upgrades. The game does not highlight anything, which really puts the onus on the player to do their due diligence. I did not, but I did get into a really cool boss fight afterwards. I am doing way too much damage to you. I'm pretty sure you have a second phase. I love poison damage in this game. That is insane. Look at all that red. I want to look half as cool as this guy when we fight. Can I get a little bit more in terms of movement here? Alright, yep. Bring on the second phase. Let's see what you got. My man, you really need to put more points into vitality. I am beating the absolute brakes off of you. Let's see if we can bait one of those lunges in. Like fucking clockwork. What the fuck did I just trip over? Why did I take damage there? Oh, that's the first time you've done that. Holy shit. Night, night. So one of the things I've read about Wukong, and I guess it's a complaint, is that it can feel like a boss rush sometimes. And I think that's accurate because you're pretty much going from area to area and then you're fighting mid-boss to major boss to mid-boss, all that type of stuff. But the thing is, I think that each of the bosses found in the first level do a really good job of honing your skills. For example, the Black Wind King, who's being fought in the background, is one where I kind of learned to practice my timing as it pertained to my dodges. What I've learned is that in the first chapter, most of the bosses are there essentially to help you learn the system. So while I agree that the bosses are prominent, they do serve a purpose. And they aren't cut and paste because all of them do have their own movesets. Now after this fight, you gain the Cloud Step spell, which is really useful when you eventually tackle multiple enemies and you need a breather. It's pretty weak, I think, at first, But when you get to the second tier of the skill tree and your copy can blast damaging shockwaves, it becomes a very useful ability. So by this time, I really think I found my footing when it came to combat. I'll admit that I was playing very loose because there's no punishment here. If this was a Souls-like, like a true Souls-like, and yes, I was punished for dying, I would be playing far more cautiously, far more patiently. But here, I'm just going to keep going until like a fight frustrates me, because my thoughts are, I'm on this first act, and eventually, maybe, I was going to run into a mid-boss or boss that would prevent me from advancing because I was playing far too loose and I need to really tighten up. But that did not happen. Even with the next boss, who just happened to be the actual final boss of the first level. And by the way, this is the best boss of this area, and I don't think it's really close. Wait, is the Black Wind King a bear now? Like, what's going on? Holy shit, you look amazing. Dude, am I on fire? Am I taking fire damage right now? I don't see any indicators. I don't think I should be able to poison the bear, but I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to say that right now. Dude, what the fuck is going on with the camera? Can you just settle down, please? Teleported right to his weak spot. Big stretch. All things considered, this is not going poorly. I'm just waiting for the second phase. There's got to be like another shoe that's going to drop on me. That bear's on fire. Once again, how are you delaying your attacks in midair? What in the Space Jam is going on here? I feel like if I get behind him and he does that little drop move on me, it's going to kill me in one shot. I just have this feeling. Was that a grab move? What was that? Was he just trying to get close to me? What's going on here? He closed the distance so fast. What the hell? This might be bad. Please don't throw. Let this be a good first attempt. Thought for a second that he was going to get me. I wouldn't have been mad either because I was playing stupid, but yes, that's what I'm talking about. So that fight was awesome, but it also did show my frustrations with the camera when you're fighting oversized bosses. I feel like the camera constantly trying to shift with the boss was a bit distracting, and it made me miss a few dodges and attacks. Regardless, that is the first chapter down, and I'll put that in quotes because I didn't get all 3 bells, but whatever, because now I'm in chapter 2, and Am I filled with arrows? What is happening, Wukong? Anyway, the second chapter, in my opinion, is fantastic. And I really feel like this is where Wukong starts to hit its stride. But first things first, I gotta fight a frog. Dude, what the fuck is this? What is happening? Why can you do all this? That was such a fast grab. Come on now. How am I still alive right now? What's going on? We can salvage this. It's going to be fine. Okay, Wukong. So it turns out that frog has hands, and I did beat him after a few tries, but what I did notice through that fight was that the game was starting to scale. And it wasn't just the bosses that were becoming more challenging, it was the areas themselves. Because in the first stage, you had a couple of enemies, but it was more like a bunch of one-on-one. Sometimes you might get a 2v1, but that was it. Here, you're taking on far more ranged enemies, and there are elites that patrol the area. And that right there was where the challenge was starting to kick in as it relates to exploration. But here's the thing. You can just run past everything. And I mean that. All of these different enemies. And because there's no penalty for dying, you can just run till you get to the top, get to that chest, pull out that little animation when you're opening up that chest, and then die. And then you'll go right back to the shrine. And then from there, you can just head off and fight the boss. Does it lower the stakes of exploration just a little bit? 100%. But I'm not complaining. I'm really not. And it's probably one of the flaws that people are going to point out, that it kind of reduces the challenge. But listen, most of the challenge in this game is going to come from the boss fights. And this next one is a gank fight. Well, sort of. That man went flying way over my head. Look at the poison just melt that health bar. It's beautiful. I'm sorry, is the dad hitting him with rocks? Why? What is going on? I don't know if that's going to help you, champ. I really don't. I'm going to be keeping a buck. I don't think it's going to help you at all. Alright, so what happens with his dad? Am I going to have to, like, strike him down, or is he going to grow to this massive size? There's got to be, like, a phase 2 to this, right? So if I kill one, one just becomes massive. How's this going to work? We need to preserve some health in case there is a phase 2. Oh! Wait, what? That's it? I kind of thought that you'd have to kill the dad, but he just ran, which, if you think about it, it's kind of sad, but moving on. You have two paths to choose from. If you go to the right, you're going to find the Fright Cliffs, and if you keep going in that direction, you're going to find the Crouching Tiger Palace, which is where a really awesome fight lies. And if you go left, it goes deeper into the Valley of Despair. And here, you're going to find the older brother of the boss you just killed.
Go and hunt the monkey. I'm your father.
Looks like he wasn't a fan of his dad. Me too. So look, I'm not going to show that fight. It's not a difficult one, but it is a requirement for a secret quest that I will touch upon a little bit later. So after downing the big guy, I decided that it was time to thoroughly explore the area. So I was just running off into different paths. And what I learned really quickly was that this level, this chapter in general, is massive in comparison to the first. And I was really appreciating that because it really felt like a Souls-like in the fact that you had all these different shortcuts, you had all these areas that led to one another. Everything generally in this game leads to a boss. So if you feel like you're getting lost, just know that when you're going on a path, just continue going forward because eventually you're going to end up in a large empty arena like this one. Here's the thing. I'm not going to talk about or really showcase this fight because I was not a fan of the Stone Golem. What I have seen a lot is that in these big boss fights, there are a lot of delayed attacks, and I think that my commentary in the videos do kind of showcase that. I think that a lot of the delayed attacks are fine. They will throw you off guard just a little bit, but there are some of them where they come off as really awkward because they hold the position for so long. And when they go down, it looks so unnatural. And this fight in particular has a couple of delayed attacks that I just really hated. And overall, just not my favorite fight. So, after I beat this boss, instead of going forward, I decided to head to the Crouching Tiger Palace. And this is where I found my favorite fight so far in Wukong. The Tiger Vanguard is a fantastic fight. It features one of my favorite arenas. And I really just love the boss's moveset. This was just a really solid fight overall. Oh, I hate that punish. I hate it so much. I have no clue how I survived that. That was really dumb of me. Blood Tornadoes is a really creative thing, and I want to see more of that in other games. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you're a game developer, I want Blood Tornadoes, like, right now. I see you went to the From Software school of not letting me heal. I appreciate that. Big damage, big damage. We're doing pretty good.
Quit with your rubbish tricks. Get out here.
Is he Australian or British? What's going on here? What a fantastic fight. That was so good. It's probably my favorite fight in the game. Beating the Tiger Vanguard is going to get you a key item that is really going to unlock the area. And this is where I kind of stopped everything and just said, all right, we can now go through multiple paths and let's just go through them until we reach their end. And I ended up facing multiple mid-bosses that I could absorb, so I had new summons. I was acquiring material that I really needed to upgrade my armor and weapons. I cannot stress about how much I loved exploring this area. I really enjoyed how layered it was in comparison to the first stage. And I really believed that Wukong was hitting its stride, and I was really looking forward to fighting the level's final boss. The key word in that sentence is was, because I was looking forward to this boss. I ended up straight up hating this fight. And not because it's a bad fight. I think the boss is cool. I hate this fight because there's a lot of jank here. And for some reason, there were decisions made, especially in regard to the design of the fight, that I think will just end up frustrating some players. Well, at least I know it frustrated me. So this is a fight that features multiple phases. It's not the first one that has multiple phases, but it's the first one you go into with the arena constricts. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if you could not knock the boss outside of the restricted area. But you can. And when you do so, he can be really annoying because you can't follow up with combos, so you can't damage him, and he can just kind of move around however he wants and damage you from outside of that zone. And that's really annoying. And then you get to the third phase, where the arena is not only constricted, he summons a tornado, and it's kicking up dust everywhere. And when he starts to engage with you, he's hitting different combo strings. You're trying to dodge around him in a smaller area with this tornado, and if that tornado hits you, it will do damage and also lift you up and toss you. No matter what happens, it will interrupt you. Visibility in the arena is severely decreased, and the camera is not helpful in this fight. And after the 5th attempt, I decided that maybe it was for the best that I headed out and fully complete the first level. You heard that right. This boss made me go back to the first level to finally finish it because I was so annoyed with this fight. So going back to the first level, I learned that ringing the 3 bells would bring you face to face with a secret boss fight. And you'll notice that in the footage, I have a new ability which allows me to transform, which I would have had earlier if I was just thorough. I played myself, let's be honest. I absolutely cooked this big-headed baby and his goofy-ass minions, and afterwards, I decided it was time to give the Yellow Wind Sage another go, and it went well. With the second level boss down, I was feeling confident and also smarter because I had the Red Tide's ability, which, by the way, get it when you can. It recharges pretty quickly. It's super useful. But I also knew that I wasn't done with the area. I had mentioned earlier that there was a secret area, and I'm going to show you how to get there, and I'm going to do this in double speed, so just follow along. The first thing you're going to do is head to Rock Rest Flat, and instead of going left to where the stone golem is, you're going to head straight, and there you're going to meet this thick boy known as the Yellow-Robed Squire, and you're going to need 3 items to progress the quest. First, you'll need the Sobering Stone because he is absolutely shit-faced, and you're going to find this at Windrest Village, which you can find if you take the path behind the temple after beating the Tiger Vanguard. The stone can be found on the upper left-hand side. Once you get past the bridge, instead of going left, you head up until you see a ranged enemy, kill him, and then the enemies that patrol that area. There is another ranged enemy at the end of the area, but to the right of them is the Sobering Stone. Once you've acquired the Sobering Stone, head back and sober him up. He's then going to tell you that he's hungry, and he's going to demand that you meet him at the Tiger Temple. Once you arrive at the temple, head up the stairs and to the right, and you're going to find him just hanging out. Exhaust his dialogue options, and he will demand a Jade Lotus. These can be found around the area of the second level. You can also purchase them, but the easiest way to find one is when you actually start the chapter. On the left-hand side in the water, you're going to see a Jade Lotus just floating there. Once you pick that up, give him that Jade Lotus, and then you can head back to the Rock Rest Flat, but only do so as long as you have beaten the first Prince of the Flowing Sands, and that's the big old rat boy who ate his dad. He is going to drop an item that is required for this quest. Once you return to the Squire, it's time to throw hands because apparently you killed his brother. What a twist. I'm not going to show too much of this fight. I'm just going to let it play in the background. It's not a difficult one, but once you beat him, you're going to be transported to a secret area. Here, you're going to have a showdown with another boss, and I think that this boss fight is a lot of fun, and then afterwards, you're going to be introduced to this wide open area. As a heads up, there are chests to find on both sides of the map. Once you get those, head to the cliff where you'll encounter the Yellow Wind Sage. Look, I don't know what's happening, but once you talk to him, then you're going to fight Fubon, which is a giant beetle. I'm not going to show any of this fight, by the way, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but just know that it's not a tough fight, and it's very cinematic. It's a lot of fun. Now, I don't think I'm actually done with the second level because I have these Buddhist eyes, which I've been collecting, and I am certain that's going to lead me to another boss fight. I just got to figure out where I got to put these things. So after the first 2 chapters, I believe that Black Myth Wukong has been a lot of fun, and it has really surprised me. I really believe it hits its stride in the second chapter, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this game pans out. If you happen to have played Black Myth Wukong, let me know in the comments how you're feeling about the game so far, because that is going to do it for this video. If you happen to like the content, please consider sharing, and subscribing. I am Ken from Pixelated Thoughts, and I will talk to you next time.